Terence Crawford has his eyes on some of the best, but first he has to deal with Errol Spence in a rematch. Now Terence has sent a warning to Spence about fighting him again. Terence isn't the only one warning Spence about fighting him again. Eddie Hearn doesn't understand why there's a rematch since no one seems to be asking it. I do think Errol Spence Jr. would be stronger at 154. He's been at 147 a long time, but I still think Terence Crawford is the big favorite in that fight. It's going to be interesting how that plays out in regards to the rematch clause. I don't think it's a fight people are clamoring for, but obviously Errol is holding his ground now. It's one of those things where you're going to have to find something else for Errol Spence if you want him to get off the pan for that rematch. I don't see anyone that would pick Errol Spence to beat Terence Crawford at 47-54, it doesn't matter. Claressa Shields knows that Spence will put the work in to be better, but she isn't sure if it will be enough for Terence. Claressa stated, "I think he'll train hard. I think he'll be better. He can put forth a better effort, but when somebody destroys you like that, they always get the ups on you." Canelo Alvarez has all the respect in the world for Spence, but he just doesn't think that he'll be able to handle Terence. Canelo stated, "I don't think it's time for Spence to retire. Crawford was just the best man that night, but if they fight again, it's just going to be the same thing. Crawford is a better fighter. I respect Spence. I like Spence, but Crawford has everything." Errol has been pretty dead set on making this rematch happen ever since he lost in the first fight.
Hell yeah, we got to do it again. That would be a lot better. It's going to be a lot closer. It's probably going to be in December instead for the end of the year. So hell yeah, we got to do it again.
Freddie Roach doesn't really believe that a second fight is necessary, but he would have preferred to see Spence fight a few more people before activating the rematch. Freddie stated, "Yeah, if it's at 154 pounds, Spence is going to be getting in there with an even bigger puncher. I don't see a second fight being necessary because the first fight clearly showed who the better fighter was. Let him get back in the gym, get back to work, and get a couple of wins under his belt. Then maybe we could see it." Paulie Malignaggi doesn't really want to see a rematch, but he knows that it's going to happen anyway. Paulie stated, "So in this particular situation, Crawford-Spence, I really have no interest in the rematch. The first fight decided it for me. I don't have any cares in the world for the rematch. I don't want to see it. They'll still make it, and they'll do what they want to do. It's not up to me personally. I don't care for that rematch, no. I was told through the grapevine even before the first fight that they'd done a 2-fight deal and the second fight was going to be at 154. So the fact that this fight is going to be at 154 doesn't surprise me because I'd heard that this was the case that they signed even before the first Spence versus Crawford fight. Now that seems to be the direction that we're going. It makes sense because Errol was barely making weight at 147 to begin with, so it makes sense. Again, I don't see anything different. It was very clear that Terence could hurt Errol. Terence can clearly hurt Errol and Errol. For me, I didn't even see an attempt at an adjustment. Stephen A. Smith tried to plead with Spence right after his first loss to Terence.
A matter of fact, let me make a plea over the international digital airwaves of YouTube. Let me make a plea right now to Terence Crawford. I understand you just beat him. You beat him thoroughly. You're the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, the WBO, the WBA, the WBC, the IBF titles, but you hugged him after the fight for a reason. I am making a plea to Terence Crawford, even if you elect to give Errol Spence Jr. a rematch. Please do not do this for at least a year. Please don't do that. Y'all are cool with one another. I'm begging you, my brother. I'm begging you. Because I know you got love. And I'm begging Errol Spence Jr., as good as you are, you were just outclassed. I say that respectfully because I got mad respect for Errol Spence Jr. Please, please do not fight Errol Spence Jr.
Naturally, once Stephen heard about the rematch, he continued warning Spence. Stephen stated, "I'm not cracking jokes. I'm not laughing. I don't think it's funny. It was just bad. He does not need to get back in the ring with Terence Crawford this year. Me personally, period, but especially this year. He doesn't need to get back in the ring before next summer, but he had a rematch clause he exercised. It most certainly will take place at 154 pounds, and Spence has indicated he plans to move up in weight. So there you have it. Crawford has to honor the rematch clause, even though he'd rather fight people like Jermell Charlo, who's about to fight Canelo Alvarez. Or he'd like to move up and fight Canelo Alvarez, even though Canelo Alvarez is not really entertaining that. Jose Benavidez Sr. really doesn't think that this is a good idea for Spence. Jose stated, "I think it'll probably be worse. I wouldn't take that fight just for the sake of his health if it was a little closer and something happened, but Terence Crawford gave a beating. It's going to be even worse, but that's just my opinion. But go ahead and fight. If you think you can beat him, hey, go make that fight. Crawford has his number. That's going to benefit Crawford also. They're struggling to make that weight 147, both of them. I think both of them are going to be fresh, but I think even worse things can happen, but who knows?" Joel Diaz can't believe Spence is going right for the rematch now. Joel stated, "No, Spence will not do any better. I think it will be worse for Errol Spence because now that Terence Crawford already got his number, and then his mentality after this beating is different. I mean, he's a warrior. Errol Spence is a warrior, says, okay, I'll fight him again. But honestly, realistically, it will be no difference. It'll be the same outcome, and I think on the next one, it'll be more beneficial for Crawford in a better fashion. I mean, the fact that Errol Spence is moving to 54 is like Crawford is moving to 54 too. He's a big boy as well. And that night, I saw a Crawford bigger than Errol Spence. He looked bigger that night. So there is no difference. I can tell you this. If this is a business fight, it's good for Errol Spence. But other than that, it doesn't benefit him right now, especially right after this last one. I mean, he should take another one, build his confidence a little bit, take an easier fight, get his confidence back, and then go after Crawford, but not right away. George Foreman doesn't want to shut Spence out just yet though, and he thinks there might still be a chance. George stated, "We gotta keep fishing no matter the odds. The big one might take a bite, stick out his head in the ring. Opportunity is opportunity. When you're no longer champ, you are out. Can't take this title shot lightly. There's a tide in the affairs of men. Spence should stay hungry. Viper has only so many strikes." Jermell Charlo doesn't want to count Spence out just yet either. Jermell stated, "My boy Errol gotta fight him again," Charlo told $1 million worth of game. "My boy Errol's gonna get his rematch. I know he trained his off. That weight is just not his weight no more. I don't want to give no excuses." Yordenis Ugas has seen firsthand what the fighters bring to the ring, and he thinks that Spence should go ahead with the rematch. Ugas stated, "Great performance by Crawford. Now he's #1 pound for pound in the sport. I'd like to see a rematch. Rematch at 154. I think that can be a great fight at 154. It will help Spence a lot." Terence wanted to address the rematch, and even though he imagines Errol will put in a lot of work to make the fight look different, he doesn't think it'll be any different.
Because, I think Errol is a strong-minded, strong-willed individual. I feel as if, he would go back to the drawing board. He would come back stronger. He'll come back more hungrier. And he'll try to fix the things that, he needed to fix to make the fight look different in the second time than in the first time. I do believe that, but that's the only thing that I can actually sense because, I will be on the other side.
On top of that, he tweeted, "Some things you will never get back." If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.